Hello everyone, and welcome to my newest Pokemon challenge. Last week, I had decided to prove that Chikorita was definitely not the worst starter within HeartGold and SoulSilver, so this week it was decided by the weekly vote in my Discord to see how Cyndaquil could compare. Today we seek to answer, can you beat Pokemon HeartGold with only a Cyndaquil? Before we start, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has watched all of the prior videos and to those of you that have subscribed. It really means everything to me, and I'm so happy with how the channel has been thriving lately. I'd also like you new viewers out there to know that I'm trying really hard to create quality content on a weekly basis, so a quick click on that subscribe button means you'll get to see a new video like this one every week. Anyways, let's get on with the challenge. Let's quickly cover the rules so we can begin. Rule number 1. No glitches, hacks, or cheats. I do, however, use speed up, otherwise these videos would take far longer to produce and I'd rather produce them quickly. Rule number 2. I can only use one Pokemon in battle. However, because I am not cheating, I do need to use a gem Pokemon for travel purposes only. And lastly, rule number 3. No items in battle. This doesn't include held items, as I use Everstones during some runs, and so other held items are also allowed if necessary. With all of that out of the way, let's begin. In my Chikorita video, I had decided that Jolly was the best nature for my starter because we had a need for speed during that challenge. However, for this run, I had decided to take a closer look at Cyndaquil's move pool, and I discovered that Cyndaquil's best stat is its special attack. However, it learns no diverse special attacking moves. Well, this just won't do, so I instead decided to refocus Cyndaquil into a physical attacker. With my mind made up, I decided on grabbing an Adamant Nature Cyndaquil, which we got pretty quickly. We run a quick errand, and then on our way back through Cherry Grove, we run into Silver and end up battling against him. Silver's Totodile doesn't have any significant advantages over us at this time, so we just trade tackles and scratch until Totodile faints. Our next objective is to ensure that our EVs are correct for the rest of the run, something that is absolutely vital in ensuring that we are capable of beating the entire game. On this first route, we have access to everything we need since we're going for a physical attacking Cyndaquil. We knock out 252 Sentret for attack EVs, and collectively 252 of both Pidgey and Rattata for speed EVs. Now that our EVs are cemented, we're ready to take on our first gym leader, Falkner. Falkner leads with Pidgey, which we're able to one-shot with Flame Wheel. Following Pidgey is Falkner's last Pokemon, Pidgeotto, who we're also able to turn into KFC with another Flame Wheel. With the Zephyr badge now in our possession, we head over to Azalea Town to battle the next gym leader, but we end up in a situation involving Proton first. Proton leads with his Zubat, which we're able to knock out with a single Flame Wheel. Proton then sends out his last Pokemon, Coughing, who we're also able to obliterate with another Flame Wheel. Now that the Slowpoke Well situation is finally settled, we're ready to take on Bugsy. Bugsy leads with Scyther, who really can't stand the heat and faints to a single Flame Wheel. Bugsy then sends out his Metapod, which also burns up due to another Flame Wheel. Bugsy's last Pokemon is his Kakuna, which just like the others, incinerates when we run it over with our Hot Wheel. On our way out of Azalea Town, Silver stops us to remind us of his Shadow the Hedgehog impression before challenging us to a battle. He leads with his Ghastly, who we run over with Flame Wheel. Following the Ghastly is Croconaw, who tanks our Flame Wheel before using Scary Face to lower our speed. We then use Swift for roughly the same damage while Croconaw again uses Scary Face twice, but then we're able to take it down with another Swift. Silver's last Pokemon is his Zubat, who bites us before we obliterate it with a Flame Wheel. Our next gym leader is Whitney, who is usually pretty scary with her Miltank rollout strategy. Whitney leads with Clefairy, who we one-shot with Flame Wheel. Whitney's last Pokemon is her Miltank, who we hit with Flame Wheel for about half health while it uses Attract. On the following turn, we can't attack, and Miltank uses Milk Drink. We're then able to land another Flame Wheel while Miltank uses Stomp. On the turn after, we're stuck again, and Miltank again uses Milk Drink. However, we're then able to land a crit Flame Wheel to knock it out. Something that we really need for this challenge is only obtainable via Game Corner coins. Sadly, Cyndaquil can't learn Swords Dance, but it can learn Double Team, which is arguably better. However, we can't get Double Team until we reach Celadon in the post-game. I still figured that we should earn the 4,000 coins that we need right now though, just to save some time later. After finally leaving the Goldenrod game corner, our next stop is the Burn Tower for another rival battle with Silver. Silver again leads with his Ghastly, who we run over with a crit Flame Wheel for a one-shot. Next up is Croconaw, who we hit with Swift while it uses Scary Face against us. On the following turn, we use Quick Attack while Croconaw again uses Scary Face. I don't know what this thing is trying to do, but the last time it actually attacked us was in Cherry Grove as a Totodile. Anyways, Croconaw then again uses Scary Face while we finish it off with a crit Swift. Silver then sends out his Zubat, who hits us with Wing Attack before we crush it with a Flame Wheel. Silver's last Pokemon is Magnemite, which we're also able to one-shot with Flame Wheel after it misses Supersonic. We very quickly meet the legendary beasts and Eugene, and then head over to challenge Morty to a battle for our next gym badge. Morty leads with Ghastly, whom we Flame Wheel for a one-shot. Gengar is sent out next, who hits us with a Sucker Punch before we Flame Wheel it back for significant health. Gengar eats his Citrus Berry, but we run it over again for good measure to finish it off. Morty then sends out his first Haunter, who we hit with Flame Wheel for a one-shot. Morty's last Pokemon is his second Haunter, who fares no better than the first. On our way over to Olivine City, we have a quick scare from Raikou on Route 38, which we attempt and fail to catch with a Great Ball. I always find the legendary beasts on Route 38. I don't know what it is about this route. We make a quick stop in Olivine to learn that we need medicine for Amphi, but then I realized I had forgotten to grab Surf while we were in Ecruteak, so while we're backtracking, we run into Entei, also on Route 38. We try to catch it with a Premier Ball and fail. We then make it to Cyanwood without much fuss, though I should note that during our travel there, we also learned Rollout, which wasn't part of my final moveset planning, but I am so glad that I kept it around on a whim. Anyways, while we're at Cyanwood, we end up finding Suicune, who then runs off, and Eugene, who challenges us to a battle. Eugene leads with Drowsy, who we one-shot with Flame Wheel. Up next is Electrode, which we hit with Flame Wheel for a good chunk of health while it screeches at us. We then hit it with another crit Flame Wheel to take it down, but we're paralyzed by Static. Eugene's last Pokemon is Haunter, who uses Mean Look against us, so we just run it over with a Flame Wheel to win the battle. Our next challenge in Cyanwood is Chuck, who was quite difficult. Chuck leads with Primeape, who we use Flame Wheel against for a good chunk of health while it uses Double Team. On the next turn, we use Flame Wheel again and take down Primeape. Poliwrath is Chuck's last Pokemon, who tries to use Focus Punch, but we run it over and break its focus. This continues on the next turn, so on the turn after that, we land a Flame Wheel and force Poliwrath to eat its berry before it hits us with Body Slam. Poliwrath then tries to Focus Punch again, so we hit it with Flame Wheel to stop the attack. We then trade Flame Wheel and Body Slam again, but we get paralyzed this time. Poliwrath attempts to use Focus Punch again, and we're able to stop it thankfully. Chuck then heals Poliwrath, and at this point, I'm super nervous. Poliwrath tries to use Focus Punch again, but we're still able to stop it, this time getting a crit and a burn. Poliwrath then uses Body Slam, but we're still not getting stuck with Paralyze and hit a Flame Wheel, meaning that Burn takes it down at the end of the turn. What a battle. We head back to Olivine to deliver the medicine to Jasmine and Amphi, and then we head over to the gym to challenge Jasmine to a battle. Jasmine leads with her first Magnemite, who we're able to easily take care of with a Flame Wheel. Next up is Steelix, who we also hit with Flame Wheel, but only for about a quarter of its health before it hits us with Rock Throw. We then use another Flame Wheel, doing another good chunk of health, but this time we get a burn before Steelix eats its berry and uses Sandstorm. We again hit it with Flame Wheel, almost knocking it out, but it hits us with Rock Tomb one more time before the burn knocks it out. Jasmine's last Pokemon is her second Magnemite, who we're able to blitz with Flame Wheel to take it down easily. With 6 gym badges in our possession, we head over to Battle Price, but first we've got to catch the Red Gyarados. We very quickly do so, as I often don't have the opportunity to catch shinies in these runs, with the only other non-Red Gyarados shiny that we've caught being in the Chimchar through Platinum Challenge, which you should definitely check out sometime, wink wink nudge nudge. Having captured the Red Gyarados, we're then roped into a whole situation with Lance, and we end up in a battle against Petrol of Team Rocket. Petrol leads with the Zubat, who we run over with Flame Wheel. Up next is Coughing, who we also one-shot with Flame Wheel. Petrol's last Pokemon is his Raticate, who is the last victim of our reckless driving. After turning Petrol's team into pancakes, we find ourselves in a double battle against Ariana. Oh, and Lance is here too, I guess. Ariana leads with her Arbok and her Grunt with Drowsy. Arbok lowers our attack with Intimidate, something that is far too common in later fights that will cause us so much pain. Anyways, we use Flame Wheel against the Arbok, and then Dragonite finishes it off with Thunder. Ariana sends out her Murkrow next, but our next target is Drowsy, who we hit with Flame Wheel for a one-shot while Dragonite uses Fly, evading the Nightshade from Murkrow. We then use Flame Wheel against the Grimer, knocking it out, while Dragonite knocks out the Murkrow. Ariana's last Pokemon is her Gloom, who we're able to easily knock out with a single Flame Wheel. At this point, we're able to challenge Pryce. I thought this would be easier than it was, but I forgot 2 of his 3 Pokemon are also Water types. Pryce leads with Seal, who we hit with Flame Wheel for minimal damage while it uses Hail. We then hit Seal with Rollout, and it is at this fight that I started to seriously think about keeping Rollout around. 2 Rollout were enough to take down Seal even though it used Rest, and when Pryce sends out his Piloswine, we immediately do half health to it and make it eat its berry while it misses Mud Bomb. We then hit it with Rollout again, and this time we knock it out. Pryce's last Pokemon is his Dugong, who we one-shot with Rollout easily. Team Rocket then decides to take over the radio tower in Goldenrod, so we've got to backtrack and deal with that. The first Rocket we've got to face is Petrel, who leads with Coughing. The last time we fought Petrel, we turned his team into pancakes, so this time he's got all Coughing and Wheezing. We one-shot his first Coughing with Flame Wheel, so then he sends out his Wheezing, who we hit with Flame Wheel for a good chunk while it hits us with Sludge. On the next turn, we finish it off with another Flame Wheel. Petrel sends out his second Coughing, who we also one-shot with Flame Wheel. Petrel's third, fourth, and fifth Coughing are all Flame Wheel one-shots. We just turned this man's team into pancakes for the second time. Poor guy. We then head to the Goldenrod Tunnel to free up the radio tower president, but Silver stops us and challenges us to a battle during a hostage situation for some reason. Anyways, Silver leads with Golbat, who we hit with Flame Wheel for a one-shot. Next up is Feraligatr, who we hit with Double Edge for a good chunk of health while it hits us with Water Gun, the first actual attack it has used since it was a Totodile. We then take it down on the next turn with another Flame Wheel. Silver then sends out his Magnemite, who we're able to one-shot with Flame Wheel. Next up is Haunter, who we also one-shot with Flame Wheel. Silver's last Pokemon is his Sneasel, who just like the 2 before it, is a one-shot with Flame Wheel. After Silver is dealt with, we're back to battling Team Rocket chumps, this time facing off with the King Chump himself, Proton. Proton leads with Golbat, who we hit with Flame Wheel to knock it out. Proton's last Pokemon is his Weezing, which we Flame Wheel for a huge chunk while it hits us with Smokescreen. We then use Flame Wheel one more time, and this time we're able to take it down. Ariana again stands in our way, giving off some major stranger danger vibes. Ariana leads with Arbok, who lowers our attack immediately, so we fall just short of knocking it out when we hit it with Flame Wheel. Fortunately, Arbok misses Glare, and we're able to knock it out on the next turn. Ariana then sends out her Murkrow, who also falls to Flame Wheel. Ariana's last Pokemon is her Vileplume, who also can't stand the heat and falls to Flame Wheel. The last Team Rocket member we have to defeat is Archer, who was waiting for us at the top of the radio tower. Archer leads with Houndour, who we hit with Double Edge to knock it out. Houndoom is up next, but growing some cool horns won't save it from being one-shot with Double Edge, just like Houndour. Coughing is Archer's last Pokemon, who we're able to knock out with a single Flame Wheel. With Team Rocket beaten back into hiding, we're back on our gym challenge. Claire is our next opponent, who leads with Gyarados. Gyarados lowers our attack, so I decided that if we're going to have our attack stat lowered, then the only thing we can do is raise our base power through consecutive rollouts. I really learned how valuable Rollout was during this fight in particular, as I had no answer for Claire outside of this one move. Gyarados manages to get a few Dragon Rages in, but it doesn't matter. Even after Claire full heals Gyarados, we hit it with a third Rollout and knock it out from full health. Kingdra is sent out next, who also can't stand our fourth Rollout. Claire then sends out her first Dragonair, which is absolutely obliterated by a fully powered Rollout. Claire's last Pokemon is her second Dragonair, who we decide to risk it all against and hit it with Double Edge, knocking it out with 14 HP remaining. Alright, I'll be real with you guys, I'm only including the Kimono Girls this time because I included them in the prior Chikorita challenge. But to be honest, outside of maybe Umbreon confusing us or Jolteon paralyzing us into Vaporeon, this gauntlet wasn't a huge deal. After finally beating the Kimono Girls, we make our way over to watch the Kimono Girls perform a dance to summon Ho-Oh. We catch Ho-Oh without any problems by using our Master Ball and then head out towards Victory Road. We get through Victory Road without issue, but just as we're about to get to the League, Silver tries to warn us that we're not ready, but we don't listen to him and we challenge him to a battle. Silver leads with his Sneasel, which we get a rollout going against, knocking it out with the first hit. Silver then sends out his Feraligatr, which we hit with a second rollout while it hits us with Waterfall. On the next turn, Rollout takes down the Feraligatr. Next up is Magneton, who is immediately knocked out with Rollout. Following Magneton is Haunter, who is yet another one-shot with Rollout. Silver then sends out his Kadabra, who we promptly run over with Flame Wheel, meaning that Silver has to bring out his last Pokemon, Golbat. Just like with Kadabra though, Golbat cannot stand to the full might of our Flame Wheel and Fates. As it turns out, Silver was absolutely right about us not being ready for the Elite Four. This is not the first time I've had to fight Will. It's not even the 5th time I've had to fight Will. We got caught against Lance a lot, and so a considerable amount of grinding was needed. Anyways, Will leads with his first Xatu, which we get a rollout going against while it confuses us. Will then heals his Xatu, but our second rollout takes it down. Will then sends out his Slowbro, which we just fall short of knocking out with rollout while it uses Curse. Will then heals Slowbro, but we snap out of confusion and rollout takes it out on the next turn. Will then sends out his Jinx, who is an easy one-shot with rollout. Following the Jinx is Exeggutor, who we continue to use rollout against while it uses Reflect. We hit it again with rollout while it misses Hypnosis, and on the following turn we knock it out. Will's last Pokemon is his second Xatu, who just like the first is knocked out by rollout. Koga is our second opponent within the Elite Four. Thankfully he isn't much of a threat to us this time. Koga leads with Ariados, which we knock out easily with a Flame Wheel. Koga then sends out his Forretress, who we also knock out with a single Flame Wheel. Muck follows the Forretress, and sadly we're unable to knock out the Muck while it uses Minimize. Koga then heals up his Muck, but we hit it with a Swift, followed by a Flame Wheel on the next turn to knock it out. Koga then sends out his Crobat, who we're surprisingly able to outspeed with Flame Wheel, and fail to one-shot, meaning that Crobat can eat its berry and use Double Team. We're able to take it down on the next turn though, no problem. Koga's last Pokemon is his Venomoth, who we blast with the Flame Wheel to knock it out. Bruno is the third of the Elite Four, who was able to completely wall us with his Onix for a very long time. Bruno leads with his Hitmontop, who we're thankfully able to one-shot with a Flame Wheel. Up next is the dreaded Onix, the wall that could not be overcome for so long. We start off with a Flame Wheel while Onix hits us with Earthquake. On the next turn, we try again with another Flame Wheel, hoping for a burn, which we don't get. Onix hits us with another Earthquake, but now we're within Blaze range, so our Flame Wheel will do more damage from this point forward, allowing us to knock out the Onix. Next up is Machamp, who we're able to one-shot with a Flame Wheel. Following Machamp is Hitmonlee, who is run over just like Machamp. After Hitmonlee is Bruno's final Pokemon, Hitmonchan, who oddly enough doesn't use Bullet Punch against us for some reason, allowing us to hit it with Flame Wheel for another one-shot. The last of the Elite Four is Karen, who shouldn't pose much of a problem. She leads off with Umbreon, who we start a rollout against. Umbreon uses Double Team, but we're able to hit it with another rollout, lowering it even further before it hits us with Payback. Karen then heals up her Umbreon, but it doesn't matter and we knock it out with another rollout. Karen then sends out her Murkrow, which we annihilate with rollout, same being said for Karen's Houndoom on the next turn. Karen then sends out her Gengar, which we knock out with a single Flame Wheel. Vileplume is Karen's last Pokemon, which we absolutely flatten with another Flame Wheel. As we head into this Lance fight, you might notice that my level jumps from Karen to Lance. That is because even at level 85, we could not get past Lance. Instead of grinding for even longer, I decided that I would use the rare candies I had been holding onto for later in the game, knowing that we would hit level 100 shortly after beating Lance anyways. Lance leads with his Gyarados, which immediately lowers our attack with Intimidate, so we start up Ol Reliable Rollout. We hit Gyarados with Rollout as it hits us back with a Waterfall. On the next turn, we hit another Rollout and knock Gyarados out. Up next is Aerodactyl, who we're thankfully able to one-shot with our third Rollout. Lance then sends his first Dragonite out, which also cannot stand to the majesty of Rollout. Following Lance's first Dragonite is his second Dragonite, who falls just like the first. Lance then sends out his third and final Dragonite, but this time we have to get a new rollout going, so we end up tanking a Dragon Rush, lowering us down to 13 HP before we hit another rollout and knock the Dragonite out. Last up is Charizard, Lance's last Pokemon, who we absolutely destroy with one last rollout. We were able to beat Lance. That means that you can beat Pokemon HeartGold with only a Cyndaquil. It took us 27 hours and 28 minutes to beat Lance, which already puts us behind Chikorita by a huge margin. While we have already proven that you can beat HeartGold with only a Cyndaquil, we need to answer one more question. Can you also beat the post-game with only Cyndaquil? Considering how hard Lance was before we got into the level 90s, I'm thinking we might not even get past Brock, but let's see how this goes. Now that the first credits are over, it's time to get something that we've prepared for way earlier in the run. Upon arriving in Kanto, our first objective is getting to the Celadon Game Corner to purchase the TM for Double Team, which will be vital to the run later. I then decided that we should unlock all of the cities in Kanto before we do anything else, but in order to do that, we need to battle Snorlax. We decide to catch it this time, as the leftovers are vital for battling against Red, if we can even get there. After catching the Snorlax, we then head down into Diglett's tunnel so that we can reach Pewter City. While we're down there, we meet a brand new friend. Meet Blueberry, our second ever non-guaranteed shiny on the channel. I'm super happy to have a brand new shiny Pokemon as part of the history of these runs, so everyone give her a warm welcome in the comments. We end off our city's tour by stopping at Cinnabar Island and having a quick chat with Blue, who encourages us to challenge all of the Kanto gyms. While that is what we're planning on doing, I first want to get our last rival battle out of the way first. We find Silver in Mount Moon, where he challenges us to a battle. Silver leads with Sneasel, who we immediately knock out with a Flame Wheel. Next up is Feraligatr, who we're able to one-shot with Double Edge at the cost of some health. Silver's next Pokemon is his Golbat, so we decide to get our rollout going. We do significant damage with our first rollout and get hit with Poison Fang. Our second rollout on the next turn takes down Golbat. Silver then sends out his Alakazam, which is absolutely blasted by rollout immediately. Magneton is the next Pokemon, but once again is brutalized by rollout. Silver's last Pokemon is his Gengar, which is the last of Silver's Pokemon to fall victim to rollout. Okay, so, I wanted to do the Kanto gyms in order because I have no idea how else you're meant to do them. Anyways, as a result of this decision, we start our Kanto Gym Challenge with Brock, who is the hardest gym leader in the post-game outside of Blue. Brock leads with his Graveler, but we've got a new strategy, Double Team. We start using Double Team, hoping that Graveler will either miss an attack or use Defense Curl. We get lucky here and Graveler decides to Defense Curl twice, giving us a few free Double Teams before it hits us with an Earthquake for huge damage. We heal back a bit of health via leftovers and continue to Double Team while Graveler misses everything it tries. When we're finally ready to battle, we start up a rollout. We hit Graveler with rollout, but then we miss the next one, meaning we've got to get another rollout going. We then hit it 3 times before it finally hits us with an Earthquake, dropping us all the way down to 3 HP. We continue hitting rollouts though, with the 4th rollout also being a crit, meaning that we've finally gotten past Brock's first Pokemon. Brock's second Pokemon is his Rhyhorn, which we hit with our 5th rollout to instantly demolish it. Following the Rhyhorn is Omastar, who we need to start up another rollout against. We hit it with 3 rollout as Omastar attempts and fails to hit us with anything, fainting before it can do anything to our very evasive boy. Brock then sends out his Onix, which we hit with our 4th rollout, but fail to knock it out while it sets up a Sandstorm. We then hit it with our 5th rollout on the next turn, knocking out the Onix. Brock's last Pokemon is his Kabutops, which we decide to continue using rollout against. Fortunately, we're still not hit by anything, and 3 rollouts is enough to finally end this battle. Our next battle is against Misty, who isn't as huge of a threat as Brock was, but is certainly still a problem. Misty leads with her Golduck, who we use Rollout against while it hits us with Water Pulse. On the next turn, we land another Rollout and take down the dastardly duck. Misty then sends out her Quagsire, which we fail to knock out with our third Rollout, but since Quagsire uses Amnesia, we're able to knock it out on the following turn. Next up is Starmie, which we're thankfully able to one-shot with our fifth Rollout. Misty's last Pokemon is her Lapras, which we start another Rollout against, doing about half health while it thankfully misses Sing, meaning that we can take it down on the following turn. The third gym leader on our Kanto quest is Surge, so we head to Vermilion and challenge him to a battle. Surge leads with his Raichu, who we get a Rollout going against, knocking it out with a lucky crit. Up next is Surge's first Electrode, who we also knock out with Rollout, though sadly we're paralyzed. Surge then sends out his second Electrode, which outspeeds us and uses Double Team, but we're also paralyzed, so we can't move. Electrode then uses Light Screen, and we're again paralyzed for the turn. On the following turn, Electrode uses another Double Team, and we're still paralyzed. Man. On the next turn, Electrode again uses Double Team, but we're finally able to land a Rollout for half health while it hits us with Shockwave. Thankfully, we're then able to hit a second Rollout to knock out this annoyance. Magneton is sent out next, which hits us with Shockwave while we're paralyzed. On the next turn, it uses Double Team, but we start up another Rollout for minimal damage. Magneton hits us with another Shockwave, and we hit another Rollout. On the following turn, we manage to hit another Rollout to knock it out after getting hit with another Shockwave. Electabuzz is Surge's last Pokemon that uses Light Screen to start, but thankfully we're not paralyzed again, and we're able to knock it out with another Rollout. Erica is up next, who really isn't much of an issue. Erica leads with Jumpluff, who we turn into a pancake with Flame Wheel. Up next is Tangela, who is also pancakeified by Flame Wheel. Victory Bell is sent out next, who is yet again flattened by Flame Wheel. Erica's last Pokemon is her Blossom, who is also completely brutalized by Flame Wheel. Our fifth gym challenge in Kanto is with Janine, who I think will pan out just like Koga. Janine leads with Crobat, who we hit with Flame Wheel for a one-shot. Up next is Weezing, which we also hit with Flame Wheel for a one-shot. Following the Weezing is Janine's first Ariados, which we pancakeify with Flame Wheel. So then Janine sends out her second Ariados so that we can make another pancake. Janine's last Pokemon is her Venomoth, which we absolutely crush with one last Flame Wheel. Sabrina is our sixth gym to take on, and I still can't understand why she only has 3 Pokemon. Sabrina leads with Espeon, which faints to a single Flame Wheel. Following the Espeon is Mr. Mime, which is yet another victim of our Flame Wheel. Sabrina's last Pokemon is her Alakazam, who we're also able to knock out with only a single Flame Wheel. Blaine is the 7th gym leader we need to challenge, and last time we fought him in the Chikorita challenge, he was very, very difficult. Blaine leads with his Macargo, who we get a Rollout going against for a really good chunk of health while it hits us with a Rock Slide crit. On the next turn, we take out the Macargo. Up next is Magmar, who we're able to very easily one-shot with a Rollout. Blaine's last Pokemon is his Rapidash, who we're also able to take out very easily with Rollout. I figured that if we could get past Brock and Misty, we could get to Blue, so here we are. Whether we can get past Blue is another matter. Blue leads with Exeggutor, which we use Double Team against while it uses Trick Room. On the next turn, Exeggutor misses Hypnosis while we again use Double Team. The poor Exeggutor again tries to use Hypnosis and fails, so we get to Double Team again. This same exact thing happens on the following turn. The poor creature just can't touch us. Exeggutor then tries to Psychic and misses, but sadly at this point we do get hit with Hypnosis and spend a few turns asleep while Exeggutor sets up Trick Room again on top of hitting us with Psychic for about half of our health. We then wake up and continue using Double Team, but then we're hit with another Hypnosis. Thankfully we wake up quickly enough and use another Double Team, but Exeggutor sets up Trick Room again. We then start a Rollout after Exeggutor misses Psychic, but then Blue does something odd and switches out his Exeggutor for his Rhydon. Rhydon tries to hit us with Stone Edge twice, but we manage to knock it out before it can hit us. The Trick Room fades, and then Blue sends out his Gyarados to lower our attack with Intimidate. It doesn't matter though, because Rollout is OP, and we can one-shot it anyways. Up next is Machamp, and here we decide to use Flame Wheel, which fortunately was capable of one-shotting with a very lucky crit. Blue then sends out his Arcanine, which lowers our attack further, so we go back to using Rollout. Our first Rollout doesn't do much, but this punk Arcanine tries to use Roar against us twice and failed both times. We take it down easily enough, meaning that the cowardly Exeggutor is sent back out, but this time we one-shot it with Rollout. Blue's last Pokemon is his Pidgeot, who we're also able to one-shot with a hyper-powered Rollout. Much like with Chikorita, I wasn't really sure if we could make it to this fight, but I had planned our entire run around it. Getting past Brock and Blue proves that we can get through seemingly impossible fights, but what about Red? Can we really do it? Red leads with his Pikachu, which we use Double Team against while Pikachu misses a Volt Tackle. The Hail falls, but Leftovers nullifies the hail damage. We then decide to Double Edge the Pikachu, getting it out of the way quickly. Up next is Blastoise, the real menace of this fight. We start off by using Double Team again while Blastoise misses Focus Blast. We then start up a Rollout, dodging another Focus Blast from the Blastoise. Our next Rollout misses though, as does Blastoise's Focus Blast. We then Double Team again, dodging another Focus Blast. Poor Blue Boy just can't seem to focus hard enough to hit us. We use another Double Team, dodging another Focus Blast from Water Bowser. We use another Double Team, but this time Blastoise uses Hydro Cannon, and thankfully it misses. If that hits, the attempt is done. We use one last Double Team and dodge another Hydro Cannon, then start up a Rollout on the next turn while dodging Death one more time. Sadly, we don't knock it out with Rollout on the next turn, meaning that Red heals it all the way back up, but we hit it with Rollout again for just under half health this time. Finally, we hit one more Rollout and take Water Bowser down. Red then sends out his Lapras, which we instantly knock out with our powered-up Rollout. Next up is Snorlax, who we hit with Flame Wheel, luckily getting a burn while it hits us with Crunch. On the next turn, we start up another Rollout, doing minimal damage and dodging a Shadow Ball. We hit Snorlax with another Rollout and dodge a Giga Impact, and on the next turn, Red heals Snorlax back up all the way before we can knock it out. This is true pain. Thankfully, we hit it for roughly half health on the same turn. On the following turn, we finally take down Snorlax with one more Rollout. Charizard is next, who we absolutely obliterate with a crit Rollout. Red's last Pokemon is his Venusaur, who we hit with Flame Wheel for half health while it misses Sludge Bomb. And finally, on this last turn, we hit Venusaur with one more Flame Wheel, defeating Red at long last. Admittedly, I had less faith in Cyndaquil than I had in Chikorita, seeing as how Cyndaquil couldn't learn Swords Dance and Blue had 2 Intimidate Pokemon on his team. If I had followed my original plan for the move pool of Cyndaquil, that being Flame Wheel, Double Edge, Aerial Ace, and Dig, we definitely wouldn't have been able to get this far. It is only because of a decision I made on a whim when Cyndaquil hit level 40 that we were able to overcome all the odds stacked against us. I also find it quite hilarious that we were able to beat the game because of Rollout, something that Whitney used to bully all of the kids back when Gold and Silver first released. The final time for this run was 31 hours and 8 minutes, which does in fact put Cyndaquil far behind Chikorita. I also wanted to say that I am super proud of this challenge and I plan on doing more like it in the future. I'd also like to say that I'm really focused on growing the channel, so if you guys would like to help me out, please like the video and share it with your friends, and make sure that you subscribe. I also wanted to let you all know that I stream this over on my Twitch, which I plan on doing weekly. Also, if you liked this video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe, as it would help me out a lot. If you'd like, feel free to leave a comment to let me know how you felt about the video, since I love seeing what you guys think about my content. If you are interested in coming and hanging out, feel free to follow the link below to either my Twitch, my Discord, or my Twitter if that platform is still around when you're watching this video. This has been Shro, and thank you for watching.